The morning sun crept over the horizon, casting a golden hue over the vast Polish landscape. Majestic trees swayed slightly in the breeze, their leaves whispering secrets from long ago. In the small village of Brzenica, nestled amidst verdant fields and dense forests, life was simple and predictable. Or at least, it had been until the arrival of the enclosure.
Jakub stood at the edge of the village, peering into the sky where an unseen line marked the beginning of the enclosure. "What do you think it is, Agnieszka?"
Agnieszka, a woman of strong will and keen intellect, joined him, squinting into the distance. "I don't know, but it's worrying how it just appeared overnight. Some think it's a government project, others have wilder theories," she replied, wrapping her shawl tighter around her shoulders.
For weeks, people had whispered tales about the mysterious barrier that had materialized. Tall and invisible, it surrounded Brzenica and the outlying areas, stretching up into the sky, an impregnable dome none could see, yet everyone could feel. Birds that flew too high vanished inexplicably, and the few attempts to breach the boundary had been met with failure, as if some unseen force turned people back to safety.
Agnieszka's son, Marek, a passionate young inventor, insisted on discovering the truth. "Mama, I'm going to the boundary again. I have a theory I want to test," he said, clutching his makeshift contraption, a curious amalgamation of wires, mirrors, and metals. "Come back soon," Agnieszka replied, but her heart was heavy with dread. The enclosure seemed to hold the villagers captive, casting a shadow of fear and uncertainty over their lives. As she approached the boundary, Agnieszka noticed something unusual. The sound of muted voices reached her ears, and she quietly edged closer, staying hidden behind the thick underbrush that lined the village's border. To her astonishment, she discovered a small group of people, including a few villagers she recognized. They were gathered around a crude tunnel, visibly digging beneath the boundary line. "What is this? What are you trying to do?" Agnieszka demanded, stepping into view.
One of the men turned, momentarily startled. "Agnieszka, it's not what you think. We believe there's a gap under the enclosure."
Agnieszka shook her head, recognizing the desperation in their actions. "Do you think this is wise? What if we don't know what's on the other side? The enclosure might be protecting us from something worse."
Meanwhile, Marek was preoccupied with his own endeavors at the boundary. He adjusted his contraption, searching for any anomaly that could explain the mysterious dome.
"There!" Marek exclaimed, noticing a slight flicker within his mirrors. He ran back to the village, eager to share his findings. But when Marek shared his results, the elders of the village dismissed him. "Young man, you're wasting your time," one elder chided. "We have more pressing problems than a scientific curiosity." Marek refused to relent. "This could help us understand what we're dealing with, possibly even find a way to dismantle the enclosure."
Yet many villagers remained unmoved, more concerned with the immediate challenges of daily life than the mysteries of the boundary. Marek, undeterred by the villagers' skepticism, returned to his small workshop, a cluttered space filled with tools and half-finished inventions. The elder's dismissal only fueled his determination. He scrutinized the flicker he'd observed in his mirrors, sifting through dusty old textbooks and scribbling furiously in his notebook, trying to decipher the anomaly. Meanwhile, Agnieszka found herself torn between loyalty to her son and the villagers' growing desperation. She cautiously returned to the site of the tunnel, where the group continued their clandestine digging effort.
Agnieszka approached a familiar face among the group, a neighbor named Piotr. "Piotr, are you sure this is worth the risk? Tunneling under the enclosure might be more dangerous than staying put. What if there's no way through, or worse, something waiting for us on the other side?"
Piotr paused, leaning wearily against his shovel. "Maybe you're right, Agnieszka, but we have to try something," he replied resolutely. "We can't live like this forever, not knowing what might come next."
Agnieszka nodded slowly. Part of her couldn't help but wonder if there was indeed a way to escape, but the other part feared the unknown that lay beyond the invisible boundary. As she pondered the situation, Marek emerged from his workshop, eager to share his latest findings with her, seeking her counsel on what he should do next.
Marek, realizing the importance of another perspective, decided to include his mother in his research. Agnieszka, with her sharp mind and attention to detail, could provide valuable insights that he might have overlooked.
Mama, I need your help, Marek confessed, laying out his notes and contraptions before her. I believe there's something significant about the flicker in the mirrors. It's like a resonance of sorts, something I can't quite explain on my own.
Agnieszka examined the notes, nodding occasionally as Marek explained his findings. I think you're onto something, Marek, she said, starting to connect the dots between his observations and her own suspicions about the enclosure.
Together, they delved deeper, merging Marek's empirical data with Agnieszka's intuitive grasp on the problem. She provided fresh theories and questions that pushed their understanding further, leading to the possibility of a hidden weakness within the enclosure. Meanwhile, news of the tunnelers' progress spread like wildfire through Brzenica. The villagers, weary of their constrained existence, were abuzz with excitement at the prospect of liberation.
They're close, shouted Tomasz, one of the villagers, as he rushed through the village square. Just a few more feet.
Excited murmurs twisted through the crowd. Many villagers, swelling with anticipation, flocked to the tunnel site, eager to witness what lay on the other side. In the fervor, Marek's dedicated research was largely forgotten, relegated to the background as the tangible idea of escape took precedence in everyone's minds. Despite the shift in attention, Marek and Agnieszka remained resolute, convinced that their efforts would uncover something crucial about the enclosure's existence. As Marek and Agnieszka continued to explore the peculiar flicker observed in the mirrors, a breakthrough suddenly dawned upon them. Marek had the idea to experiment with different light frequencies, altering the setup of his contraption to see how it affected the resonance. As they adjusted the apparatus, the mirrors began to project faint, ethereal images, shifting and morphing like a mirage.
Agnieszka stared in awe at the spectacle. Marek, look! It's as if the mirrors are trying to tell us something, she exclaimed.
Marek manipulated the light further, refining the frequencies. I think we're seeing some kind of prediction. What might happen if the tunnelers succeed, he explained, adjusting the setup to stabilize the image.
In the gleaming mirror images, a chilling vision unfolded. The catastrophic cracking of the enclosure led to environmental devastation, a whirlwind of chaos and destruction across the village, suggesting dire consequences if the barrier was breached improperly.
We must show this to the tunnelers and the villagers, Marek declared. These projections might not be absolute, but they can't be ignored.
The pair quickly recorded their findings, capturing the spectral images on video to present their case. With the urgency of their discovery driving them, they hurried to the tunnel site, where the villagers gathered, abuzz with anticipation.
Agnieszka addressed the villagers once more. Look at this before you make a decision, she implored, playing the video for all to see.
This could be our future if we break through recklessly, Marek added. We need to consider all possibilities and understand the enclosure before making any rash decisions.
The villagers watched in silence as the ominous prediction flickered before them, realizing the gravity of the situation as doubt crept into their hearts. The gathered villagers watched in rapt attention as the mystical images flickered across the screen, depicting the dire potential consequences of their actions. While some among the crowd began to murmur in agreement with Marek and Agnieszka's warnings, others seemed less convinced, their desperation to escape clouding their judgment.
We must consider the safety of our entire village. We need a plan informed by understanding, not haste.
We're not trying to scare you. We want what's best for all of us, and this might be our only chance to reason with those we don't fully understand yet.
Despite the persuasiveness of Marek and Agnieszka's presentation, several of the tunnel's ringleaders remained stubborn, driven by impatience and a strong belief in their chosen path. Ringleader Piotr, firm in his resolve, whispered to his companions, "We'll just have to keep going at night. The rest will understand once we're on the other side." As night fell, the majority of the villagers kept their distance from the tunnel, but clandestine operations continued under the cover of darkness.
Marek and Agnieszka retreated to their workshop, devising a plan to bring an end to the enclosure's hold using scientific principles. If we can use these frequencies to predict possible outcomes, maybe we can find a way to manipulate the enclosure itself, Marek mused, gesturing to the apparatus.
Let's focus on creating a programmed sequence of light modulations that might disrupt the enclosure's resonance patterns. It might give us the control we need, Agnieszka envisioned.
Together, they pooled their knowledge to assemble a new device, one capable of potentially deactivating the enclosure by harnessing the same invisible forces that maintained it. Marek and Agnieszka worked tirelessly, weaving scientific theories with practical craftsmanship to construct their light modulation device. After painstaking trials, they finally honed in on the correct frequency sequence, one that could potentially weaken the enclosure at a specific point without causing widespread destruction.
"We've done it," Marek declared, his voice tinged with excitement and relief.
Before him, the device emitted a beam of oscillating light that, for a brief moment, seemed to ripple and bend the air around it, creating a shimmering opening within the enclosure. Intrigued and cautious, several villagers stepped forward to test Marek and Agnieszka's creation. As they entered the glimmering gateway, they found themselves transported not to the world around Brzenica, but to a strange, unfamiliar landscape, the city of Bendigo, Australia, far beyond anything they could have anticipated.
Agnieszka marveled at their success, yet was clearly puzzled by the unforeseen outcome. It's a doorway, but not to where we expected, she admitted.
While some of the villagers were eager to explore this newfound region, others hesitated, wary of the implications of traveling to a distant land unknown to them. Meanwhile, in the depths of the night, Pyotr and his determined followers continued their defiant tunneling efforts. Oblivious to the revelation above ground, they pressed deeper beneath the boundary in secret.
"It's closing in on us. We must find a way out before we're buried alive."
Panic ensued as Pyotr realized the danger they were in. Above ground, Marek and Agnieszka's celebration was cut short as word of the tunnelers' predicament reached them. Alarmed, they knew they had to act quickly to save those trapped underground. The realization that the enclosure was sentient hit Marek and Agnieszka like a bolt of lightning. This was no simple barrier to overcome, but rather an intelligent entity with motives and responses of its own.
Agnieszka pondered the implications. If it's capable of trapping them, it's also capable of understanding us. We need to find a way to communicate with it.
Marek nodded, already considering their options. "We need to establish contact, show we mean no harm. Maybe we can negotiate the release of those trapped within."
They quickly assembled a team of villagers to assist in their efforts, crafting a means to project messages, using both sound and light modulation, in a direct attempt to engage the enclosure on an intellectual level. Meanwhile, the portal leading to Bendigo, Australia, raised even more questions. The villagers venturing through the doorway discovered a world that seemed caught in the past 100 years, removed from their present.
Agnieszka was captivated by the opportunity. "It's like a terrestrial wormhole," she exclaimed to Marek, connecting us not just in space but in time as well.
This discovery suggested that the enclosure, perhaps crafted by advanced technology or a forgotten force, held complex functions far beyond their initial understanding. The past revealed opportunities and dangers alike, serving as both an escape and a cautionary tale to meddle with forces they scarcely comprehended. As the urgency of their mission compounded, Marek and Agnieszka mobilized their plans with newfound hope to rescue Pyotr and his followers by appealing to the enclosure's intelligence and to explore the mysteries of time and space unraveled by their unwitting journey across worlds. As Marek and Agnieszka earnestly attempted to communicate with the enclosure, an unfathomable presence seemed to acknowledge their overtures. In a demonstration of its sentience, the enclosure intervened, allowing the earth to relent and freeing Pyotr and his followers from their subterranean prison.
"Thank you," Marek conveyed through their makeshift apparatus, his voice carrying both gratitude and curiosity.
The enclosure responded not in words, but in a sensation that Marek and Agnieszka could perceive and understanding that went straight to their minds. The message was clear. Humans must learn humility. The portal was open to Bendigo and to the past as a lesson, a reminder of your limits and the consequences of overreaching.
Agnieszka nodded, pondering the implications. It's teaching us that the path forward isn't always about pushing boundaries, but understanding them.
With lines of communication established, Marek and Agnieszka ventured to negotiate further. They proposed an ongoing dialogue with the enclosure, seeking to understand not only the lesson it had imparted, but how the villagers could coexist and learn from it.
Help us understand fully, Marek asked, appealing to the sentient force that enveloped their world. Guide us in using the knowledge from Bendigo of the past to ensure a wiser future.
The enclosure, its presence now a part of their lives, seemed to agree. The shimmering portal to Bendigo remained open, not simply as an escape or a destination, but as an avenue for learning a window into a past that offered insights into their present condition. Marek and Agnieszka planned to send expeditions to the time-displaced Bendigo to study its environment, exploring the differences and deriving lessons that could apply to their own time. Meanwhile, as a cautious respect for the enclosure grew among the villagers, Marek and Agnieszka sought to balance innovation with humility, allowing the enclosure to play a role as both protector and mentor in their quest for understanding. Marek and a carefully chosen team embarked on their expedition through the portal to the time-displaced Bendigo. As they arrived in the past, they were struck by the stark contrast between the lush Polish landscape they knew and the desolate scene before them. What they found was a community whose connection to the natural world had been severely severed.
Look at the state of this place, Marek remarked, taking in the vast expanses of barren land, punctuated by stumps of once majestic trees felled in the name of progress. They're committing ecological suicide, he added, shaking his head at the sight of rampant deforestation.
The people of Bendigo, bound to their ways, seemed oblivious to the irreversible damage they were inflicting on their environment. Marek and his team documented their observations, keenly aware of the lessons to be drawn from this community's short-sightedness. Back in Brzeźnica, the relationship with the enclosure began to shift as awareness grew. The villagers, informed by Marek's findings from Bendigo, developed a newfound appreciation for the enclosure's presence.
Agnieszka spoke to the gathered villagers, conveying the enclosure's benevolence. We must recognize what we have. With the enclosure, our village has been gifted a climate-controlled, sustainable environment, safeguarded from the short-sighted actions of humanity elsewhere.
Over time, the villagers came to cherish the enclosed sanctuary in which they lived. Though it limited their wanderings, they realized that the enclosure's true purpose was to preserve and protect, offering them a gentler, curated existence where they coexisted in harmony with nature.
Marek, contemplating their peculiar yet fortunate situation, expressed hope for the future. We've been given a second chance, an opportunity to coexist with an entity that nurtures rather than destroys.
As the relationship with the enclosure evolved, it stood as a constant reminder of nature's power and the responsibilities that came with stewardship of the environment. Under its watchful care, the villagers learned to live with intentionality, fostering a balance between human ambition and respect for the natural world. With a profound understanding of the importance of balance between progress and environmental conservation, the villagers of Brzeźnica showed a renewed commitment to maintaining their harmonious relationship with nature.
Agnieszka, inspired by their revelations, spearheaded the formation of an environmental committee. We need a body that ensures every decision reflects our values, preserving the delicate balance we've come to cherish, she advised, rallying support from the community.
This committee, composed of knowledgeable villagers and led by Agnieszka, evaluated proposed developments based on their environmental merit. Each project was scrutinized to ensure it aligned with the enclosure's purposes, preserving their oasis of natural beauty while allowing for controlled progress.
Sustainable innovation is possible, Marek asserted during a committee meeting. We can create advancements that honor our commitment to the environment.
Instilled with the stark lessons learned from Bendigo, the villagers committed wholly to policies that would avoid the pitfalls of unchecked exploitation seen in other parts of the world. Teaching future generations these principles became a cornerstone of their way of life. Children grew up hearing tales of Bendigo's past, an ominous warning of the fate that awaited those who sought development at nature's expense.
Agnieszka, seeing the promise in the younger generations, reflected on their journey. We've shown what's possible, she said, speaking to a group of children gathered to learn about the world. Unfettered development will destroy life as we know it. It's up to you to carry on the torch of harmony.
Thus, the village thrived under the guidance of the enclosure, its people more connected to their roots and more prepared to sustain the delicate balance their ancestors had learned to respect. In response to the challenges and opportunities presented by the enclosure, the villagers of Brzenica embraced a variety of sustainable innovations that allowed for progress while respecting the natural equilibrium of their environment. These advancements not only improved their quality of life, but also set a benchmark for ecological stewardship.
Marek, inspired by the pristine surroundings, led the effort in implementing community-driven hydroelectric schemes. Harnessing the power of our rivers can provide clean energy sustainably, he proposed, working with villagers to construct small-scale, low-impact hydroelectric plants that judiciously utilize the village's natural water sources.
Agnieszka championed an initiative to utilize the natural properties of plants and water for air conditioning, transforming buildings within the enclosure into cool sanctuaries from the summer heat. Nature has ingenious methods of regulating temperature, she noted, encouraging the use of green walls and water features as part of architectural designs.
Under their leadership, sustainable farming practices took center stage. The village adopted permaculture principles, ensuring agricultural systems were regenerative and capable of feeding the population without depleting resources. The thriving life inside the enclosure soon attracted global scientific interest, becoming the B in an A/B testing model as researchers sought to understand the environment's ideal conditions. The educational system within Brzenica shifted to reflect these changes, molding a culture deeply rooted in environmental awareness and innovation. Schools prioritized teaching about sustainability, biodiversity, and the impact of human activity on the planet. Future generations were encouraged to see themselves as custodians of their world, with lessons emphasizing the successful coexistence of technology and nature.
Agnieszka, observing the transformation of her village, remarked to the visiting scholars, "Our children are learning that within the enclosure lies a model for a harmonious future. Here, they've seen that humanity's potential doesn't require nature's destruction."
As word spread of the village's success, the enclosure-oriented culture developed, promoting a global dialogue about sustainable living. Brzenica became a beacon of hope, showing the world that with care and responsibility, progress could honor the very earth it stands upon. As global interest in Brzenica intensified, the village found itself at the center of international attention. The villagers, unwitting participants in a real-life experiment akin to the Truman Show, became subjects of fascination. People worldwide were entranced by this self-sustaining microcosm thriving under the enclosure's protection.
It's strange to be watched, Marek admitted to Agnieszka as they observed the influx of researchers and media personnel setting up observation posts at the enclosure's boundary. But if our success serves as a beacon for a world in turmoil, perhaps it's worth it.
While the villagers maintained their serene existence, living side by side with nature, the outside world could only watch, unable to partake in the sanctuary that Brzenica offered. The enclosure's boundary remained firm, providing an impermeable barrier that fascinated scientists and envoys alike.
Agnieszka understood the significance of their role. "We are stewards of this life, and perhaps that's the lesson the enclosure wants to impart on humanity," she said, observing with hope as the village continued to thrive.
Meanwhile, beyond the enclosure's protective embrace, the world faced mounting challenges as climate change, war, and social unrest exacerbated existing global tensions. The urgency for sustainable solutions became increasingly apparent as countries grappled with the consequences of environmental degradation. As Brzenica's model of sustainability gained more attention, it inadvertently highlighted the dire need for transformative change on a global scale. External leaders and policymakers, witnessing the potential of harmonious coexistence with nature, face the challenge of implementing similar systems amidst skepticism, resource scarcity, and political hurdles. The enclosure remained a symbol of what humanity could achieve, a safe harbor amidst the storm, teaching its inhabitants and the world by extension. Throughout, the villagers of Brzenica, grounded in their values, continued to thrive, setting an example of perseverance and wisdom for the world to strive towards. As Brzenica's remarkable transition under the enclosure drew ever more scrutiny, International bodies such as the United Nations sought to translate the village's success into practical applications for the wider world. However, attempts to craft global policies mirroring Brzezinski's approach were met with limited success.
A diplomat voiced his concerns during a UN summit. While Brzezinski offers a compelling blueprint, our challenge remains human greed and the relentless quest for power, which hampers genuine global cooperation.
Despite crafting resolutions aimed at promoting sustainability and environmental stewardship worldwide, entrenched political interests, economic disparities, and conflicting ideologies prevented the wholesale adoption of Brzezinski's practices. Meanwhile, within the confines of the enclosure, villagers became increasingly aware of their role on the global stage. The ethical implications of being observed like a living experiment did not escape them, prompting discussions about the responsibilities linked to their newfound status.
Agnieszka met with fellow villagers to discuss their new roles as change agents. We didn't ask for this attention, but now that we're thrust into it, it's our duty to represent this way of life with integrity and purpose, she declared.
The villagers embraced their role as ambassadors of change, seizing the opportunity to share insights on sustainable living with the world. They offered virtual tours, lectures, and writings on the subject, all aimed at educating others about their unique experience and the lessons it imparted.
Marek, addressing a group of international students via video conference, shared, "The world beyond the enclosure may face grave challenges, but with determination, innovation, and respect for nature, there's a path forward."
Through careful engagement and outreach, the villagers conveyed the potential of a balanced society, inspiring a ripple effect across borders. Their existence became a rallying cry for individuals and communities worldwide to pursue meaningful change within their own environments, hoping to emulate the harmony seen in Brzezinski. As Brzezinski continued to shine as a beacon of sustainability and environmental harmony, its influence began to take root far beyond the enclosure. Communities in more liberal and socially conscious countries, inspired by the village's example, initiated changes aimed at mirroring the successes of Brzezinski. In nations open to progressive policies, governments began adopting measures to integrate sustainable practices inspired by the enclosure's model of coexistence with nature. Urban planners and environmentalists collaborated to design eco-friendly communities, taking cues from Brzezinski's innovative use of natural resources and its balance of technological and ecological advancement.
A renowned urban developer cited Brzezinski in a conference. The possibilities for change reflect, not just in policy, but in the mentality of a whole generation determined to live harmoniously with their environment.
This ripple effect led to renewed discussions on climate policy, green building standards, and global sustainability goals, planting seeds of transformation in places ripe for change. Aware of their unique position, the villagers of Brzezinski sought to amplify their message on a global scale, ensuring the lessons learned could be shared widely and effectively.
We need a platform where positive, solution-oriented conversations can thrive, Agnieszka proclaimed to the gathering as they brainstormed ideas for their digital initiative.
The network quickly gained traction, becoming a central hub for eco-activism, educational resources, and cross-cultural exchanges about sustainable living. It allowed not only for the sharing of ideas, but also for collaboration and support between like-minded individuals worldwide, bolstering a global community deeply invested in the planet's future. Through this initiative, Brzezinski ensured their knowledge, practices, and ideals extended well beyond the enclosure, fostering a movement that embraced and celebrated interconnectedness with the natural world. Their digital outreach became the lifeline for a burgeoning shift in human consciousness, demonstrating the profound impact of informed, compassionate stewardship. The social media network created by the villagers of Brzezinski quickly became a vibrant hub for discussions on sustainability, drawing a diverse audience eager to learn and share insights on creating a more sustainable future. To engage global audiences, the network focused on a variety of potent and relevant themes that resonated deeply with the challenges faced by communities worldwide. One of the network's central topics was the stark contrast between Brzezinski's harmonious living and the ongoing natural destruction and turmoil experienced in the outside world. By providing direct comparisons, the village highlighted the repercussions of neglecting environmental conservation and sustainable practices. These discussions weren't merely abstract, they served as powerful reminders of the urgent need for global change.
Marek often spearheaded these conversations, using tangible evidence from Brzezica's experiences to underline the benefits of living in harmony with nature. Our success isn't magic. It's a model based on respect and collaboration with the environment, he posted, prompting discussions on how similar methods could be applied elsewhere.
The network also served as a rallying point for individuals worldwide who were passionate about sustainability. It became a platform where eco-activists, educators, scientists, and everyday citizens could exchange ideas and galvanize collective action.
Our stories are interconnected. By sharing what works and what doesn't, we build a stronger global community committed to nurturing our planet. Agnieszka encouraged international collaboration.
Inspired by the exchanges on the network, political groups dedicated to sustainability began to form. These groups organized advocacy campaigns, applying pressure on incumbent governments to adopt policies aligned with environmental preservation. They used the network to coordinate efforts, share strategies, and gain international support for their causes. Individuals from all walks of life contributed by sharing their initiatives, successes, and even their struggles, weaving a rich tapestry of narratives that reinforced the necessity and feasibility of sustainable living. As these voices converged, the network not only inspired change but also provided the momentum necessary for real-world impacts, progressively shifting attitudes and policies towards genuine ecological harmony. As Brzezica's social media network developed into a formidable force advocating for sustainability and environmental responsibility, it encountered significant obstacles, especially from entities threatened by its growing influence. Political pushback became increasingly evident as the network began to challenge the status quo of various regions around the world.
Marek, aware of the challenges, discussed with Agnieszka. Powerful interests see this platform as a threat. They're threatened by the idea that real change is possible and that their control could wane, he said.
In response to the network's influence, certain political figures and industries heavily invested in non-sustainable practices attempted to restrict its access. They sought to create barriers, either through legislation aiming to curb environmental advocacy online or by attempting to discredit the network's legitimacy. Despite these challenges, the village remained steadfast in ensuring the integrity and ethos of their platform. Realizing the importance of maintaining credibility and mission alignment, they implemented stringent moderation policies.
We must be vigilant, not just in what we promote, but in how we explain our decisions, Agnieszka emphasized during a community meeting.
The network established a system of accountability, where content was carefully assessed and moderators provided comprehensive explanations for their decisions on what was posted and what was not permissible. This transparency helped to maintain trust and steer conversations constructively, ensuring the discussion remained focused on actionable and inclusive sustainability practices. Mindful of the power of misinformation, they emphasized fact-based discourse, prioritizing contributions that fostered educated dialogue and genuine solutions, while respectfully managing dissenting opinions without detracting from the network's core purposes. As a result, the network not only withstood external pressures, but also became a sanctuary of knowledge and collaboration, staying true to its mission while navigating the turbulence that came with its expansion. In their pursuit to ensure that Brzezica's social media network reached its maximum potential and influence, the villagers tapped into cutting-edge technological advancements. Driven by ingenuity and a cooperative spirit, they developed a new kind of microwave technology, a game-changing innovation that granted them unparalleled control over their network.
This microwave system surpasses current satellite technologies, offering global coverage that even rivals systems like Starlink. We've created something revolutionary, allowing our message to reach virtually every corner of the planet, Marek explained to the village council.
This advanced technology allowed the network not only to expand its reach, but also to enhance the stability and speed of their communications. With a robust infrastructure now underpinning their efforts, the network became the gold standard in digital platforms focused on sustainability. This breakthrough ensured that their message could penetrate even the most remote areas, making the ideals of Brzenica accessible to a truly global audience. The rise of the network's visibility and success attracted the attention of global organizations, which recognized the financial and environmental potential within the enclosed communities. Corporate entities and international NGOs alike approached the villagers, keen on establishing partnerships and learning from their sustainable practices.
We must choose our partners carefully, ensuring their values align with ours. It's about creating real change, not just profit, Agnieszka urged.
The financial benefits of sustainability became evident as companies embracing these principles saw reduced costs, enhanced reputation, and increased loyalty from conscientious consumers. These partnerships effectively became a two-way street, providing corporates with invaluable insights into sustainable practices while offering the village resources and infrastructure to further their mission. As Brzezica's influence grew through these collaborations, its ethos spread beyond its borders, firmly embedding sustainable practices into diverse industries and spurring economic innovation driven by ethical considerations. With the synergy of advanced technology and strategic partnerships, the network's impact amplified, continuously fueling a movement that sought to reshape global paradigms towards balance between progress and environmental prudence. As Brzezica navigated its growing network of partnerships with global organizations, the villagers were acutely aware of the ethical considerations inherent to such collaborations. The potential for corporate greed to overshadow genuine sustainability efforts was a significant concern.
While these partnerships hold promise, we must guard against any attempt to hijack our mission for profit-driven motives. Our principles must remain intact, serving as a foundation for true, lasting change. Agnieszka voiced a central worry during a council meeting.
To protect their ideals, the villagers established stringent guidelines for partnerships, ensuring that each potential collaboration met their ethical standards before any agreement was made. This involved requiring transparency from partners, aligning goals for environmental and social benefit, and establishing accountability measures to maintain the integrity of their shared mission. These considerations ensured that Brzezica's influence remained a force for good, promoting global change that prioritized the well-being of the planet over financial gain. Meanwhile, within Brzezica, the introduction of new technology and expanded global reach had profound effects on the village's social dynamics. Each villager became acutely aware of the role they now played on a global stage, realizing that their actions and decisions carried significant weight beyond the enclosure's boundaries.
We are all influencers now. Every choice we make, every word we share, has the power to drive global discourse and action towards a sustainable future. Marek addressed the community, emphasizing their newfound responsibility.
This realization fostered a collective sense of purpose across Brzezica, uniting the villagers in their mission. They engaged more actively in educational programs, hosted international dialogues on sustainability, and encouraged open innovation to continually improve their methods. The community embraced this role with humility and determination, aware that their every action now contributed to shaping the planet's fate. United by their vision for a more balanced world, the villagers of Brzezica stood as beacons of hope and stewards of the Earth's future, affirming that meaningful change was indeed possible when driven by thoughtful, dedicated individuals.